No, yeah. It's back on, babe. Hey, just got my subframe switched to the new one I bought. Ooh, nice. I bet that costs a pretty penny though. How's it going, Samika? How's your night? Yeah. How's the new subframe though? Do you drive it? Does it feel good? Gonna play some quick play first. Get warm up before I start going to gunfight. Ooh, I'm happy you hopped on. How's the new job search going too, Smika? Can you hear me? Good morning. Olsen's in the house. Olsen. It's good morning to you, sir, and good night for us. Good evening. Nah, it was only 630 plus the cost of frame, which was like 500 and something. Yeah, that's expensive. Nobody's going to sell it a grand. I mean, I would sell a grand for my car, but I'm saying that like it's not something most people can just shell out right away. That's expensive. I'm playing with the dog. All right, I'll show you on dog camera because I have it set up, but he's driving nuts right now, and then he wants to play. Oh. But all the questions I asked you, Smika, was how does it drive now? But at least it didn't cost 1,000 to put on. Oh no, that's good. Yeah. Oh, 630 plus the cost of the frame, which was 500 or something. Okay. I was sitting here adding 630 and 500 together, so that makes sense. No, that's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. Woo, woo. I was reading it wrong. My fault. Gotta turn it down. If you guys, I got song requests on, so if you want to throw it on and get down with some music, feel free. Hit me up with some good stuff. Man, all these guys are in my way. Get the fuck out of the way, guys. Oh, someone sniped me from the side, didn't they? Yeah, they shot me from the window. That was harsh. That was harsh. I will not live that one down. Yeah, that might be enemy on Main Street, but I gotta. Oh man, they killed all these guys. All those guys just died. I just saw them all alive for a hot second. Hey, Maple, I love you, but you're full of baloney right now. Come on. It vibrates a lot, so I don't know. I need to get alignment done because my steering wheel is all loose. So I'll let you know. If you got a vibration going on, it's not alignment. You need your tires balanced. You need to get your tires balanced because your tires, if there's any imbalance in them, they would cause your car to shake when you're driving. Oh. Ooh. No, they were behind me. Yeah, once again, if your tires are your car's shaking, then it's your tires are causing it. Your alignment will only cause your car to pull in certain directions. Other than that, you know. Let's see. I need to do finish moves. That's what I need to be working on right now. Ah, no crap. It's my fault. Brand bot says there's gonna be more vibration. Oh, it depends. You got yourself a performance frame, then that makes sense. But if you're dealing with something like more like it's a brain, some motor mounts. Oh, you got polyamor. No, where did he go? I had no clue where he went. Oh, he hid there. Okay, it's my fault. Yeah, the motor mounts will cause it more to shake, but how bad is the shake though? Then, like, you can feel the vibration, or are you like noticing like your wheel vibrating? I guess that's a better question. Where do you feel the vibration at? Plus, you should have gotten one of those. You may or may not love it. Cause it sounds like you got performance motor mounts, which are not fun if you're trying to have a nice smooth ride. Oh, where the fuck did he go? Okay, I'm gonna run here. I'm so distracted right now. My game just crashed? What? That's weird. I don't know if they're up there. I think they're up there. I just missed that throw. That was a terrible throw. Oh, he got me. Not my bad. Not bad. My car sounds louder. The whole car sounds loud. Okay. A louder car. It's probably because some of the vibration was going to. Oop! Got hit by a cruise missile. I'm trying to do stuff all at the same time. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, if I actually focus on the game, I probably wouldn't be dying as much. But we'll get there. We'll get there. One thing at a time. Oh, why am I lagging? What's going on? Yeah, I'm lagging. How bad is my latency right now? It's not even that bad. I'm like rubber banding across. What? Am I dropping frames right now? I'm dropping some frames. Why am I dropping frames? It's probably because I have so much going on right now. Let me shut down some stuff. Run away. Hate to do that. Nah, I'm just gonna shut this all down. It's kind of hard to run this game if the frames are dropping. See if that drops my CPU usage. I can still listen to music. We switch sides, that sucks. No, my throws have been off. 100% off. Oh. Alright. Well, I'll take that one. Got your butt kicked. I like them sauce apples. Oh. My aim is off. Oh, just saw the claymore. That hurt. John is playing the campaign for Modern Warfare 4, is it? No. Wait, is it? No, this is Modern Warfare. This is Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's all it is. It's not 4 or anything. It's just Modern Warfare. I can't remember if it's actually part of the... If they just rebooted. Ah, that's why I died. I'm dying right now. That's fun. But sweet. I'm happy Sean's playing. I was on the topic of something here. It was on the cups of my tongue. And I'm just nothing but... Where's he at? Come on. Did I hit him? No. Freaking suck. Alright. But, Yeah. This is Modern Warfare. There he is. Oh, are you kidding me? Still killed me. Yeah, no, it technically should be 4, but it's not happening. Our brain's not working, not functioning. We're losing this match so bad. Oh, fuck. Ah, well, it'd help if I actually moved. That'd be great. My CPU usage at 50? Must have been hitting pretty high for a second. I was dropping frames, so it'd be crazy. I don't know why I'm using so much. But anyways, life is but a dream when you're in a sleazy relationship. Ah. Oh, got shot by the bird. So mount vibration. If you feel vibration in the steering wheel, it's retires. But if you have vibration otherwise, then yeah, it's the mounts, and that sucks. But that's what happens. Man, you're not doing well at all this mission. This map. I like I was not focused on doing this. And ooh, that was a terrible warm up. Otherwise, how are you doing, Smika? How's things been? My brain is like has too much at one time, I guess. Play the game. Ooh, this guy is sniping. A double kill was the play of the game? That's pretty harsh. I had literally 12 deaths in 1 kill. I really hate this map though. It's pretty bad. Oh, you know, that might be why that I'm having such turn the video off. I don't want to see the video. No, it's still showing this over here. That makes it hard. Anyways, my chat just minimized itself. Hey, you're watching Netflix. What are you watching, Olsen? Maybe if I just turn this way, you won't bother. Okay, we dropped down now. It's troubleshooting things. I'm sorry. Anyways. Hey, Smika, you should do the command. We got commands. You know, I should just command. Nope. As an exclamation mark commands. There you go. Hey, what's up, Ken? Ken. Fuck yeah, dude. You freaking know it, man. Mobile Suit Gundam. Okay, I gotcha. Olsen. Ken, how's your night going, man? I'm looking forward to seeing that picture. I'm a little all over the place. You do exclamation mark and then you just type in whatever command you want. So if you click the link to the commands, it'll show you everything I have available, and you can do things like, you know, the lasers. You can do waifu like this, and then I would love that I had fuck yeah, dude, but I don't have the sound for that, Ken. I wish I did. What else do I have? I think I have hot. Is that what it is? I can't think of what it is. No, it's not that command. I don't remember all my commands. In case you didn't get notification, I'm hosting. Oh, thanks for the host. That's awesome. I don't know why I didn't get a... No, you're auto-hosting me. Yeah. No, there's no party one. Is there a party? I don't think I made a party one. You gotta click on the link. Hey, Bun, what's up, dude? What's going on, man? How's your night? Everybody's popping this for you. Oh, awesome. All right. I appreciate you stopping by, sir. Thank you very much, good gentleman. Please have a nice night. Take it easy, right? Yeah, Mad Spike. In the house with the emotes. Oh, man. Anyways, yeah, my brain is just all up in a tizzy. Just gonna have to roll with it. Your day is okay, Bun? I mean, that's good to hear. Work been driving you nuts at all? Okay, let's go see. Alright. Let's see if this... So, it's going pretty good. I really can't complain, dude. I'm happy I got good on my test. I only missed one question. I was freaking dope. Super excited that I only missed one. Freaking lag is going down. Ow. Am I dropping frames again? The 8 balls is most likely. You have to ask the question. What's up?
I found Christmas lights.
Yeah, I don't know where those were hiding, but you found them. No, not really. Work has been okay. I'm sorry, bud. That freaking sucks. Oh yeah, Friends. I'm sorry. I'll play Friends for you. I can manually play it. Just give me 1 second. I think this is Friends. No, maybe I'm wrong. It's this one.
I need a bath.
Yeah.
Some yoga.
Oh, he just dropped.
Yeah.
I'm so mad at people who just freaking crouch. I did not crouch. They just. And then at Smika, you have to do the exclamation 8 ball, and then put down what you thought. Unless you don't want to, then it's fine. But that's the command. Oh. Oh, I thought someone was here. Oh, I see him now. Most likely. I don't know what you asked. Did you ask? Didn't ask anything. Oh, well, if I slide into the enemy, we'll be done for. I'm really questioning why my CP usage is so high. And I'm having such frame drops. I'm already down resolution as is. Here, let me just drop my frame rates a little bit. Maybe that'll take a little bit of a load off the... Shouldn't really, but... Yeah, I'm freaking dying. I don't know why. I mean, I know why I'm dying. They're killing me. That's what's happening. Nice. I got an assist for that, but... You're done! Wow. This just stunned me. I hope I know where they're at. Oh, crap. Man, everything just is off right now. I just saw someone. Oh, that's a car. Seriously, what's my lag at? Oh, yeah, I'm lagging. I'm lagging really bad right now. Kill one guy, got another guy, get me. Alright, well, anyways. A happy bun stopped by. Hey, got 1 kill. Yay. I think I'm probably better off sniping this game. Oh, you know, I'm a crazy maniac. I should have ran up and got my kill like I wanted. He just shotgunned me, didn't he? Yeah, he just shotgunned me. He switched. Just briefly. Oh, Bun's still here. What's up, dude? Make me cry, man. Oh, he's such a beautiful human being. Oh, man. But what's been bothering you at work, dude? I know. Oh, okay. Can't stay long, but you're here for now. Oh, I got him. Killed him for me. This lag is killing me. Oh crap! Oh, I thought I had him. I didn't. I didn't expect him back up. I was like, he was like beep 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 beep. No, you're a beautiful human being. Bun. No, you're the beautiful human being watching me right now, right? When you could, you know, obviously be running around doing something else with your life. I just sit here and play COD and talk to people. Oh! Alright. I got my revenge. That was nice. Alright, that whoever threw that scared the crap out of me just now. Just hope you know that. Okay. Well, we're gonna play with lag tonight, guys. Hopefully oh, you know what? There's probably someone up here. Right? Oh. Guys, help me out. I'm dying inside. Yeah, I think I'm gonna cut the music. I think that's what kills me the most right now, unfortunately. I don't know. The internet's been wacky. Now I dropped down to 83. Oh, well, hi Damon Athias. You guys didn't see that. I didn't exist just now. I just died. Just died. I did not get spawn killed. That's not something that happens in COD. I will not let that happen, alright? Definitely just happened. Alright, well, take cover, because I'm gonna die. That's what I heard. The word is a bird that I'm gonna die. I don't know, a better game to play when I'm lagging like this. I'm gonna die. Alright, I love you guys. Please, stay safe out there. Fun. Hope work goes better for you. This guy just running down the street. Want to try to kill him, but my lag is that terrible. Yeah, I'm sorry that work sucks, man. Should be against the law, you know. Law against that work cannot be shitted, and if it is, you have to go home for the remainder of the day. Why not? I'm dead. I just saw a guy. Oh no! And I am. Look how bad my lag is right now. I'm on 144. Oh, that guy's at 215, almost 217. This dude. It hurts. You guys ever feel that? Ever feel that pain in your chest? Bad internet? I feel that all the time. You don't have any. Oh, no, bum, 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 bum. Alright, so I'm gonna entertain, and we're just gonna play Impossible. Dun 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 dun. This is the guy that was killing me earlier, wasn't it? Yeah, last hero. He's the last hero. He's got his own clan tag. It says LHA. I wonder what that stands for. Nah, I know exactly what it stands for. Oh, you know what? Hold on. No, so this is cool. You can switch. Ain't nobody got time for that. Loadout. You can switch your loadout mid game. I just went from sniper to. I'm trying to protect you, dude, and your leg's getting in the way, dude. Make a move. Make a move with your life, man. Oh, he shot me from behind. Dude, you guys see that guy's leg? It was so masculine. Well, I'm gonna switch. Denied. It's my sound effects. Denied. Oh no! Why do I see him at the last second? I'm just gonna blame it on lag. It's lag's fault, guys. Anyways, my day was pretty good. Just got back from the mall early. It was nice. Nice, relaxing Sunday. Enjoying the sights. I just saw someone that was not my ally, maybe? Question mark? You guys ever see a bay? Alright, well he's not here, I guess? Guess he's not here? Okay. Yeah, but we went to the mall, they had some cute Labrador puppies there. Oh, some golden doodles. Oh no, they saw me. I don't know where they shot me from, but they shot me. Oh, they shot me from there. Yeah, that's how bad my lag is. I didn't see him. Did not see him. Oh well. I played with worse lag and still won. So. Just fodder tonight, guys. Oh no, man. see where you're going. Where are you going? Ooh, enemy sentry gun? That does not sound good. I am slightly scared. I'm quaking my boots. But nobody got time for that. I'm just rushing. Rushing when I should be rushing. Hey, thanks guys. I needed the easy kill. Oh no! Just keep running, Ty. Just keep running. Oh! Oh. Okay. Oh. Oh! Oh! Alright, well, I knew it was coming, shooting, and I gotta shoot behind me. It's all sorts of craziness. That's all I can say. Oh. Seems like I could get killed. Nope, he's still alive. I guess it's safe for now. Oh, nope. Not anymore. Let's see if he comes through. Come through. Come on, man. I'm so impatient when it comes to this game sometimes. Oh, we lost. Someone said, thanks for the melee. They finished my daily. You're welcome, dude. I actually got 4 kills. That was nice. I'll take the 4 kills. We'll move on. We'll move on with the life. Oh, man, guys. So, I'm just reaching out to small streamers. I have 2,000 followers, but just need to grow more so we can become streaming friends. Just send me a message on Instagram or Whispering Bro if you want a network. Oh, D3T Oscar. Gotcha. What is the D3T? I know resilience. Yeah, Oscar, you follow me from resilience? What's up, man? How's your night going? I'm gonna turn off my Wi-Fi on my phone. Hope that stop taking up this damn bandwidth or something. Can't believe I was sitting at such a... Yeah. My lag is killing me, man. Where's my... What's my internet speed at right now? It says looking for more players. That's cool. But Bun's at work. Hope you enjoy your bun lurk. But work and lurk. Gotta work it to lurk it. Work it. Just turk it. Do you feel lucky, punk? Do ya? Do ya? I don't feel lucky. Now back to changing.
Yeah.
Some yogurt.
Yeah.
Hey, Bun, you ever watch Cartoon Hangover? Cartoon Hangover is freaking amazing. Yeah, don't mind the floating mic there. Just moving it over. Yeah, Bun, if you've ever seen Cartoon Network, Cartoon Hangover, that's what I'm trying to say. Brain fart, dude. Nope, never seen them. Okay, so that's where Catbug comes from. It's freaking amazing. You know VRV by any chance? But if you just look up YouTube, you do Catbug, it's freaking hilarious, man. There's one where Catbug is trying to marry Rebecca, and it's freaking hilarious. Cartoon Network, yes. Cartoon Hangover, no. I slip of tongue. Cartoon Network and Cartoon Hangovers, like, you know, pretty close, right? You can forgive me, right? Okay, I forgot the part of mission. I'm trying to sneak up and finish people off with finishing moves. That's the word. Trying to do finishing moves on enemies. And my freaking lag's at 47. It's not bad. Oh, freak. There's a grenade. Oh, I'm blind. I don't know where I'm at.
Good.
I'm fine. I just heard my guy say good for the first time ever. Alright, I got an assist for that. That sucks. But oh well. He like literally ran into him. Ah! Pretty close, haha. I mean, Cartoon Hangover, Cartoon Network, like, just one word difference, right? I hear a lot of judgment coming from you, Bun. I might have to not love you anymore, man. You were the shit. Now I just feel like snip. Oh, they're blowing this place up. Robot Scott. Go. Take some bullets, man. Take some bullets. Oh, he Crumby. I think I've seen Crumby. JK, JK. No, it's fine, bun. Oh man. So, dude, cartoon Hangover. It's about, well, it's like a network show, but like Cartoon Network, but these guys are a hero team that go around the universe and save people. You still love me? Aw, love. Yeah, I'm lagging still. Oh, there must be something else going on. There's something I don't understand that's going on that's causing me to feel like I'm running through craziness right now instead of actually enjoying the game. Let's see. Resolution is still there. Oh, I didn't save the resolution? No, I dropped the frame rate. Oh. Maybe just bring my frame rate back to 300. It might not. It might just drop frame rates again. Or lag out. One of the two. My computer's freaking out. We'll just put it that way. So Cartoon Hangover is about this group of heroes that go out and they save people in places that are missing parents. Somehow got hurt just now. Whoa, Spaz addict. And they find a bunch of pets. I mean, Catbug is a pet who was a worm that turned into a ladybug. Or in this case, a catbug. Let's see, I need to get better at some songs. Oh, personal radar in there. They probably see me. Probably see me before I want them to see me. What's your favorite show? Bun. Yeah, they hold 2 objectives, but I'm scared. I'm a scaredy. Scaredy baby. They're just waiting. They're just camping in this place. Whoa, crap. I just killed myself. Oh, I said, what's your favorite show to watch? I need to stop going through that way. That's what I need to do. Alright. Alright. May it come back. Yeah, I was just saying, what's your favorite show to watch, dude? Alright, sweet. Captured it. Nice. Nice, sir. Oh, jump through this place. Get killed because I wasn't paying attention. Who needs to pay attention, right? What's called paying attention? Yeah, but I was just asking, you know, what's your favorite shows to watch? Alright. Oh, crap. Oh, he just backed up. I tried to whack him. Favorite show to watch? Breaking Bad S1, Season 1, and then Mindhunter. Oh, Breaking Bad. I actually haven't watched Breaking Bad, believe it or not. Boom. Yeah, they can't see me, so I'm just gonna run through here. I don't know why I didn't go through here before. It probably would have got me through. I probably would have not had died so many times. I thought I just heard somebody. Oh. Yeah, I know. We're just gonna keep dying. Let's see. But yeah, I watched Mindhunter. I love Mindhunter. I think they lost me when it started getting more. No, I think in Criminal Minds. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. That just knocks you out of mounts? That's weird. Oh. Nice. Pegged that guy. I was just gonna let him kill me. He's wrong. I'm gonna let myself kill me. I'm just gonna run out in the middle here. freaking like a spaz addict right here. Guys, I'm freaking dying. Oh, nice! You see that? Manhunt Unabomber is quite good. I have to check that out. I've seen a little bit of Mindhunter, not too much. I kind of got lost out of the... What's the word? What can you call those? Like... real life drama? Investigation of real situations that happen in life? Oh! Watch my body bounce. You watch Criminal Minds at all, Bun? Yeah, how's my lag? No, my lag is pretty low. I'm really curious why it seems like things are struggling. All I can think is that my oh yeah, okay. I don't feel bad now that my own teammate came around the corner. Enemy UAV, great. They know exactly where I'm at. They know what to do with me. How are we winning this right now? Okay, just saved a guy. That was nice. See if anybody else will come out. Come out, come out. I've seen Criminal Minds, not really so much. But what do you think would make a difference between Criminal Minds and Mindhunter? Yeah, I don't care if that Charlie. Oh, oh, oh. Okay. Point break range. I'm fine with that. Alright, I meant to reload? Oh. Nice. Nosebreaker. Well, it may have blown him, but that was fun. Okay, well, I thought I would be sneaky. Anyways, I've seen Criminal Minds, not really into it. True story, true story. What's the true story, Bun? It could be, how could life be any more truer than true? I don't remember what I was talking about. Damn, I fell into brain fog today. Thanks, Bud, for watching, by the way. Ah, see, okay, I see him now. They can take A, it's fine. I want the freaking snacks from it. Oh, they ran? They just run? Okay, well, fine. I'll take it. I don't know why. I must have killed him. I don't know what else to say. I'm basically into the based on true stuff. Oh, okay. I mean, I feel like Criminal Minds was based on true stuff. Just they don't do true stuff. They do like loosely based on true stuff. You know what I mean? Like friendly UV. I can't believe there's a friendly UV. I thought I gotta kill somebody, but they're gonna kill me instead. Alright, well, yeah. I would definitely say true Criminal Minds. Oh, oh. What? Why am I hearing people run and then it's my own teammates? That's one thing in this game. You can't tell the difference between enemy footsteps and your own. Alright, well. What's the banging about right now? Probably could have killed like 3 people there. Understood loosely based on true story. Yeah, yeah. That's maybe the kicker. The kicker is that it's based on a loose story, loosely based on a true story. Oh, whoa, we won actually. Yeah, yeah, not today, not today. So you got my full intention now, bun, 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 bun. So my brain is farting. Like my Pokemon. I'm a Charizard fan, by the way. I don't know if you are, Bun. I don't know if Andrew, Mad Spike. Wow, Mad Spike asked you if what Pokemon I liked. And what time is it? Ooh, basically no. I'm kidding. I've got some time. Let's see. Let me see. I might change maps or modes real quick. I'm a definitely a Charizard. I've always picked Charizard. I like a sci-fi that's actually tried to be scientific. Gravity, Interstellar, Mars. Yeah, yeah. There you go. I don't think I actually. No, I didn't watch Gravity. I watched Interstellar though. Yes. What Pokemon do you like the most? I love Interstellar. Martian was great. I thought it was funny. It was not what I was expecting, but it was good. That's all that mattered. I was like totally lost if it was gonna be good or not, and I was like, you know. But yeah, what's your favorite Pokemon? I'm gonna put it this way, so. Oh. Just flopping around with tweets. Alright, we're gonna go back. And we're going to do. It's hard to choose. It's hard to choose what game to do. Yeah, but what Pokemon you like most? Interstellar and Martian was awesome. I don't know. There's not a lot of scientific, like, sci-fi movies that I get into that I really enjoy the hell out of. That are, like, outer spacey. You know what I mean? I feel like that the realm of that is hard. I mean, there's Lost in Space. Lost in Space is a good one. I can't wait for them to continue this television series. Not the television series, the series, which is on Netflix. If I remember correctly, it's on Netflix. I love that one. I forgot the name. Let me find the name. It's a new Pokemon, Pokemon Y. I think I'm pretty much stuck on Gen 1 and 2. Well, if it's a new Pokemon, Pokemon Y, that's not Gen 1 or 2, though. Fun. Okay, fine. Forget it. I will do... What do I want to do? Oh, my life hurts. Let's do Team Deathmatch. Let's see. If you happen to find a Pokemon, son. Pretty much, I'm a fire person. I pick fire every time. This time when I played Pokemon, I picked Score Bunny. I don't know if you saw it. You know, that's why I don't remember his name. Because it's Gen 1 or 2. But, ooh. You like its look. Okay. I mean, I like the look too. Like, I like Blaziken. Blaziken's awesome. I like Typhlosion. Who else is there? Why do I keep forgetting? I can't remember. NK. ENK? ENK. I gotta see a picture. Let's see. Oh, you know what? Didn't I mess myself up because I have too much on right now? Am I running to me? I have my display capture on. Oops. That probably killed a lot. That probably made it pretty bad. I gotta keep track of some of this. Disco. Okay, let go back. I can't remember who NK is, to be honest. What did we pick? I thought we picked Real Team Deathmatch. I ain't gonna prosecute no targets. I'm gonna get my butt kicked. That's what's gonna happen. That's what usually happens.
Enemy at the crossroads.
We've taken the lead.
Who got the first kill? Oh. I killed him. Okay. I don't know if I killed him or not. He was like the only one up here. That's funny. Why? I don't know. Everybody makes their own decisions. It's not a starter though. Gotcha. Okay. So which one did you pick for your starter then? Okay, oh crap! Just get my position away. So MVG mode's pretty annoying because you're green the whole entire time. You have to use a laser to give your location away because it's attached to your weapon, regardless if you do not have the attachment for your. Oh, someone is trying to shoot me. I just saw it all over the map right now. Let's see. Which game? No. Let's say Pokemon Y. Let's your starter on Pokemon Y. Alright.
Enemy at the cafe.
Okay, this is death marker. Oh, crap. Yep. It's hard. Can't fight harder. I'm already fighting as hard as I can. You asked me my favorite Pokemon? Not favorite starter Pokemon. I asked you favorite starter, and then I switched to, crap. Is he gonna come around the corner? Okay, no. Yeah, I asked you favorite Pokemon, and then I asked if you had a favorite starter. Ooh. Saw a guy runner. Okay. Oh, forget that. Ah. Freaking light. We'll run around lost a little bit. It's fine. We'll get there. We'll get back. There's someone up there that's not my teammate. And this guy's about to get knifed.
Enemy in the back alley.
Oh, he got me. He got me good. I picked Finnegan. Oh, Finnegan. Nope. Don't remember. Is that that's the cat one, right? Oops.
Denied.
Denied a win. Alright, we can do this. We can do this time. Believe in yourself. Finnegan? Yeah, I picked Finnegan for Pokemon Y. I liked him. It's pretty good. I forgot him though. I can't believe I forgot Finnegan. How dare I forget Finnegan? I was gonna. I'm supposed to be sneaking up on people. Whacking them. That elusive. Oh, finishing move. Give me a finishing move. Killed him though. That's good. Let's go. The fire one. Yep. Finnegan was pretty bomb. I did not like his final form, but yeah, his final form was pretty crazy. I don't know. Maybe I did like his final form. I just thought it like he was a thick boy then, and you're like, I don't know. Sorry, I'm gonna camp this because I know it's exciting game content right here. It's like, what door would they come through? We will never know. Probably gonna get shot standing here. Let's see how my patient goes. His final form, haha. You loved his final form? His final form was cool, but I felt like that made him too thick. I felt like as a cat he'd be slender and a little bit like, I don't know. It made him a real boxer, which was what he was. So I don't know. I gotta show you Score Bunny. I have a hate and love relationship with the Pokemon they've been coming out with lately. I think they've switched side of the maps, to be honest. I think they'll start spawning on the other side. Yeah. Where at the construction site? Who knows? You will have to suffer.
Enemy at the crossroads.
Oh no, he got me. That was brutal. Ay. He He just ran up behind me. I heard him the whole entire time. And I didn't know where he was coming from. I'm so fucking pissed right now. I'm so fucking pissed. Where the hell am I? What am I doing with my life right now? Guys, you know where I am? Oh, Linen. Damn. Okay, we need to get out of the light. Because, you know, that just shows you better. Where's that guy that was running around? I didn't like him. Oh, he just killed me again. You serious? I ran by him. Do you see that? Did you see that? I ran by him. Oof. Oof. Nothing but pain. Nothing but pain in my eyes right now. I feel like everyone's been killing everybody. I haven't been able to get a hold on a situation. Is he gonna kill more people? Let's see if he's gonna kill more people. Did they kill him? I don't believe they killed him. I don't want to believe it for a second. That guy's freaking resilient. Oh, that's my dead body. There's he at. Okay, so they must have killed him. How did they get lucky killing him? And I just had to the kill cam. Don't look at the kill cam, Bond. Jeez, make me feel bad, man. Oh, frick. Nope. Nope, I didn't see anything. Running. Can't see crap. I'm about to get killed. Can they see me? That's the question. I'm gonna lay here. Don't judge me off the kill cam, alright? These guys are vicious. Alright? Sometimes they just lie in hiding and you just don't see them. Well, it's too late. I kind of been camping out on places and I haven't been able to find anybody. Well, I hear one.
Enemy at the construction site.
Oh, I thought I heard one. This guy's like all ready. Alright, Ty, I gotta go home, gotta try to work a bit. Alright, good luck. Thank you for stopping in. I'm freaking dying here. Don't mind me. Nothing changes here. Just being killed. Like that. Bye, Bun. Thank you for stopping in, man. Appreciate it. I'll get off after this game. I said an hour, and it's close to a freaking hour already.
Less than a minute. Time critical. Get it done.
Yeah, I don't know where we're at right now for kills and stuff. Watch these guys die. No, you're still alive. Oh, there he is. Oh, there's one guy. Oh, where the... Man, I'm serious about this lag, dude. Let's see. 40 FPS. I don't know why we're setting at 40 FPS. Oh, yeah. I guess I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop it a little bit lower. Might not get anything happening to me, but... The kill cam. Yeet. No.
Save it for the next one.
I suck, but suck. What the heck? That's questionable. That was really questionable. My kill death ratio was 71%, so that meant I died like half the time. Rank up. Do 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 do. Alright, I better back out. I'm leaving. I'm done. Good night, guys. The stream is ending. I hope you have a nice night, and I still haven't changed that. I messed up. Alright, listen here, guys. I'm not the greatest person in the world, but thank you for stopping in. Bring my heart to tears, alright?